So when I started my business, I was figuring out what I was good at, like what would be my niche, what would be my expertise, only to realize that to run a business, it's not only important to know what you're doing and who you're doing it for, but actually how to run a business. So today I would like to walk you through that process of me figuring out kind of like, okay, so I think I nailed all of those little bits and pieces. Why am I still not having a business, a successful business, a profitable business? And maybe listening to my story will kind of make something click for you as well, even if you're starting out, maybe it will help you avoid those mistakes that I made. Or if you're kind of along the journey, but you're also wondering like, okay, my business is not really making the money that I expected it to make by now, maybe this will help you also to make that transition to how to actually run a business from I know what I'm doing. We have to go back in time a little to the moment when I decided it was time to quit my job because I was already on sick leave for some months. And my job was like, but maybe you could just do this for us. Maybe you could jump in on that email tomorrow, or maybe you could actually check out that folder that we prepared. And I was like, I cannot, I'm on sick leave. That's the whole point of a sick leave, that you need to give me the space. And so I decided to quit my job, and I set this goal for myself to make sure that from that moment on, whatever I was going to do, keep in mind that I quit the job, quit the 9 to 5 to have freedom of my time and freedom of my place so that I could go wherever I wanted, whenever I wanted, and that I could just, decide when I wanted to work on the things. And also important not to forget, I made sure that I would be doing things that I enjoyed doing. And I started out like everyone else, what is your niche? What are you good at? What do you enjoy doing? And there were all of these other things like, what is your purpose? What is your passion? Um, what can you imagine yourself doing for the rest of your life? It's not important. You can also change things. What is your niche? Who do you want to work with? What is your ideal client? Blah, blah, blah. So I've done all of those things. It was like many trial and error figuring out what I actually enjoy doing, what kind of setup would work for me, who I would want to work with. And let me be just very honest about it. That took like a few years to get there, yeah. Because I was like, I don't know, let me change it up. So on a journey, I learned 3 very important lessons. Lesson number 1 being to don't be afraid to just try things. So when I started, I would hear these like business managers, business coaches talk about like, this is what you should do, this is how you figure things out. And I would feel these like little pools inside me, right? I would be like, but I think I should do this, or I think I should try that out. And it took me a while to realize it's okay to just experiment things. And especially when you like feel really like, passionate about something, or you're like, I think I should just try it out. Like you feel that intuition in you talking, and you try it out. There's a lot more like, that motivation, and motivation doesn't take you all the way. But if you don't try the things out, there will always be that what if in your head that will kind of like suck the energy out of you for the other things that you're like, I'm supposed to be doing this, so you're doing that. So just don't be afraid to experiment, because when you do, sometimes you land on like something really cool accidentally, and you go like, I should have done this way before. I didn't know this was so cool. But if you don't try it, you will never know. So whatever it is, just try it out. To give an example, I once saw this like billboard for people looking for personnel in a restaurant. I'm super introverted. I hate loud noises. I hate talking to people. Customer service is like a nightmare for me. And I said, that's something I should try out. Applied for the job. I actually totally loved working in a restaurant. Never expected that. But I also learned that yes, it was too noisy, it was too busy for me, and it took like a lot of energy for me to be in that environment. But let's say I can still see myself like working in a cafe or something that's a little bit more calm, because it was like a very busy big restaurant. So yeah, I learned something like super random about myself by just trying something out. Lesson number 2 is related to this, is to learn and adapt. So I went into the restaurant environment and I thought, okay, I absolutely love what I'm doing, but somehow something is off because it's still like sucking the energy from me like on a daily basis, so this is not going to work. But then I thought, maybe I could still use those skills or use what I actually enjoyed here and put it in somewhere else, right? And that can work with like anything. So maybe it's like, I actually really enjoy writing. And then you find some writing jobs, and then you figure out, okay, but I don't actually enjoy like writing how-to articles or like SEO content. I enjoy way more social media or something. So it's really important to like learn and adapt to like go on that journey, and also to see like, what actually works with like an actual public. To see like, what actually people want to buy or work with you on. um, so yeah, learn and adapt as you go, and make sure that you like don't just see like the bigger picture, but actually zoom in on the little details, because sometimes the gold is in the details. And number 3 is kind of the opposite of those two, which is to stay focused and find the common thread. And what I mean by that is sometimes, and that's why I think it took me so long to be on this journey and to like start a more profitable business, is that I would be like, that's shiny. Oh, that's something new. Oh, people are doing this now. Oh, that's something really cool. Like it was like SEO, it was websites, it was AI, everything now, automations, blah, blah, blah. I'm still doing automations. But, but so just like kind of going in 1,000 directions doesn't really work, and many people will tell you that, and it is true because I lived through it. And if you're like in a position where you're like, no, but I want to do 1,000 things, go for it. Because I'm also the kind of person who goes like, I don't know if I believe you. I have to see and feel it for myself, just experience it myself. And once I started to focus down, things started to work a lot better, and I was like, oh, this is what people meant. Oh, now I see like the difference. There's like a before and an after, and you go, oh, I see now. So if that's you, learn and adapt, experience with things, try things out. So that was the 2 previous lessons. And then the third one is, once you find something that you think you can focus on for like a good period of time, and I'm talking like years, or like at least like 6 months, stay focused, stay sharp, and also find a common thread. So if you have experimented enough, and if you learned and adopted enough, you will find a common thread in what you're doing. To give an example, my journey went from teaching yoga, building booking systems, building websites, helping with email marketing, helping with social media things, helping with building automations. And I thought, that's like a whole bunch of random stuff. I kept my niche a little bit with like yoga teachers, kind of social rebels, wellness businesses. But I thought, those are very different offers and services that I'm providing here. But then I realized the common thread, what is like true for all of them, what I'm doing is making life easier for these businesses through my tech services. And most of those tech services involve some kind of automating things, right? Because people would be doing like booking by just texting people, and I would be like, well, we can just build a booking system. So try to find this common thread of like all of your experiment things, right? Now, that whole journey helped me figure out what I enjoy doing, or what my service really provided my clients with. However, there's this other whole thing that is called running a business. That is like a whole different piece of cake. And for years, I did not realize that I was missing that piece of the cake, because you would think, well, I opened a business, so I have a business, right? I'm running the business. But there's so much more to that. And once I realized that, I was like, oh, that is like a whole separate skill. So if you're like, I'm kind of experimenting, I'm doing my little thingies, but it's not really like leading to like a profitable something, then maybe what you're missing is also knowing how to actually run a business. So again, to give my example, and maybe you can relate to this, is I got really good at what I can do. So I can build like automations, I can build websites, I can do SEO. I got really good at social media. I get good at like writing things. I got good at, like maybe tracking my cute little things, project management kind of things. But the biggest missing thing is getting good at actually running a business, and like, knowing my numbers, and like figuring out how to make it profitable, and to actually think about the numbers. So maybe if you also like, got really good at like all of that fluff, basically, because at the end of the day, the goal of your business is to make you money, so that you can like live from your business. So maybe if that's also you, then at least we identified the missing piece. So here's the thing. What you need to run a business is numbers. Yes, it's going to involve a little bit of math. And it's like really fun, or like funny, because I studied statistics. I was like the numbers girl. And I didn't realize to run my business I needed numbers. Anyways, so I figured out I need numbers. And to give you an example, I would, for example, set up automations. I would do a lot of like pay by the hour work. Yeah. And then people would pay me to like build them a website or to build them automations. But the thing is, so what I was, my service all in the background was to make life easier for them, right? So that they can grow their business and not have to like do like all these random little things because it would be automated. Or, you know, if you have a website, people can book things. So the more I worked, the less work I had because because obviously I was kind of like phasing myself out. You know, I was the one who helped them um, take care of their booking system, for example. But once they had the system, they didn't need me because that system was doing it for them. It's like literally my job was being replaced by robots and by technology. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, that's like an awesome thing, right? But that means that I wasn't really running a business, I was running this automation help thing, charity situation um, that would not be really profitable at the end of the day, or it wouldn't be sustainable to run something like that. So maybe you also recognize that basically while you're focusing really on like getting better at your job, doing your job quicker, if you get paid by the hour, the faster you work, the less you get paid. And of course you want to work faster. Of course you want to like deliver results faster and better results for your clients. But then that also means that your expertise is increasing, your value is increasing, which means that you shouldn't get paid less, you should get paid more. And that's where the hourly system is kind of failing us. So then, without realizing that I should focus on, you know, like the business and the numbers, I thought, okay, maybe I should switch over to this project-based things. But then I aimed so low with my prices that basically, because I didn't do the whole math, I would ask like hundreds of euros for something that would result in like thousands, 10,000s of ROI, which is like return on the investment for my client, which means I wasn't even getting paid for even my expertise or even my hours basically at the end of the day, but I was now doing project-based work. So that also didn't work. And here I have to insert a little bit of personal something into the story because I think also one of the reasons why it took me so long to realize that my business wasn't really profitable and there was a missing piece of like actually numbers to like, you know, think about the numbers to build the business was the fact that I had a big safety net. So when I quit my job, I had savings. I sold my house. I had money from that. And I had a fiance back then. So I had this safety net where I felt, you know, I can just grow my business in my own time. There's the money, there's a person that I can, you know, count on. And I'm at a point where all of that fell away and it was like a huge wake up call for me, right? So I do not have that safety net anymore that allowed me to kind of just coast along, you know, I'm just trying things, I'm growing my business. You know, it's okay that business growth takes some years, and that is normal. But I think I could have learned and adapted faster, and I could have stayed focused better and realized that I had to focus on actually growing a business in a way that it would also be profitable if I wasn't counting so much on that safety net. So it was like a wake up call for me, like, you know, slap in the face, but but it worked. So I hope that the time can be less for you, or that maybe now you realize, oh, actually, you know, I'm also kind of just like running on standby instead of, you know, like going full in because I have some limiting beliefs or some things around me that allow me to be in that comfort zone instead of stepping outside of that comfort zone and really building the thing. So I found some amazing mentors to work with who are helping me to build a profitable business where I can still have my big heart, because I also thought, you know, I just love doing what I do and I don't want to take that away from people. I still want to provide my services to the people who need it. But I can't just constantly give without being able to afford rent or food. So they're helping me set up a new way of running my business that will hopefully help me make it profitable. And to come back a little bit to the mindset things, it also means that I also have to learn more to, you know, accept and receive the things that people are giving to me. Because it's one thing to ask for a bigger number, it's one thing to ask for what you're really worth. But it's also another thing to be able to receive and accept that, because if there's a little bit of discrepancy there or like limiting some things going on, that's really hard. And I'm learning that now. So I am really excited that I found this other puzzle in this like whole business journey puzzle experience adventure that is, actually focusing on the numbers and figuring out how it will lead to something that will allow me to be able to, buy my food, pay my rent, live a life, while also providing amazing things for my clients. So if you want to see what I'm doing, I will link in the description my website with my services. And that is like basically the current setup, and it will probably also change. So like maybe if you're watching this at a very later time, it has changed again, as I am tweaking it while working on it. So again, we're back to, trying things, learn and adapt, and then staying focused. And one last thing, where you're checking out the offers and you think that is actually pretty cool, if you feel called, feel free to book them. And another thing that would mean the world to me, if you're reading it and you're thinking, I would say that differently, or I don't really understand that, I would also love your feedback. Yeah. So that is also, learning and adapting. Feel free to take my things, learn from these mistakes, take the lessons that I told you about today, and yeah, check out what I built, what I proudly built. And that's it for today. I think you're awesome.